Shalom, everyone, and welcome to week 45 of Coffee and Connection. I am so excited to be here with all of you. It's definitely, it's nice. It's like really like the end of the night. Like sometimes it's funny to get on here now. For me, it's late and whatever, but it's really a nice way to end my night. And it's really great to connect with all of you. I'd love to see anyone on camera who wants to come up. I always love to see your beautiful faces. And hello, how are you? Let's see. Hello, amazing. Okay, great to see you. Hello, welcome. Okay, so here we go. So make sure I see as many people as possible. Oh, so nice. Okay, great. So let's talk about today's topic. This question actually came right off my list of questions that women sent me at the beginning of last year when we started Coffee and Connection. And I think it's a great one. And I don't know why I never got to it. So we're going to discuss it this week, which is the question of like, how do you stay in a state of connection? Like, how do you always want to be connected and focus on connection and think about connection? Like, don't you ever just want to run away? Don't you ever just want to like get away from it all? And I think that the most important first answer we can give to this is yes. Yes. Sometimes we want to run away. Sometimes we don't want to focus on connection. It reminds me actually of this Tehillim, this beautiful Tehillim that's it's right at the end. I think it's 139. And it starts out by saying like, God, can you just kind of like leave me alone for a little bit? Like, can I get a little break, right, from my relationship with you? I remember learning this with my Rebbitzin, and she was saying it so beautifully. She's like, you ever like just kind of want to break from like the heaviness of your relationship with God, and like and then David or whoever wrote the Tehillim is saying like, I just wherever I go, there you are. I try to like get away from you. I run to like the highest mountain, the depths of the sea. I go all the way into the darkness, but like it doesn't matter. You're there. Actually, you even know what I'm thinking before I think it. So I can't even kind of hide from you in plain sight. And like that can feel very overwhelming. Our connections can feel overwhelming. The fact that no matter what we do, it always affects, not just ourselves. And there's so much that needs to get done. And of course, we can be affected by that. What's beautiful in Tehillim is that it ends by saying when the author realizes, wait a second, if and someone's saying, I never want to break from Hashem. He's my life. He gives me strength. Amen. Beautiful. That's kind of how the Tehillim ends. But in the beginning, the idea is just kind of getting like in touch with that feeling we sometimes have of that heaviness, that feeling of, maybe sometimes we just feel like maybe I want to break, and maybe it's a lot. It's a lot to always be focused on connection. It's a lot to always be focused on being our best selves. It's a lot to always every moment be thinking about, who do I want to be and what kind of relationship do I want to have, and not just, falling in and saying, I'm just kind of giving up for today. Because even if we do that, when we're in this work, then we just feel bad about that. And that's kind of like an intense relationship with Hashem is the same way. But the way that Tehillim ends is with the poet, the author, the Mishorer, as we would say, right? Perhaps David Melech, such a beautiful Tehillim. We could definitely see it as written by him. And he says, wait a second, I can't run away from you. I can't escape you. That means that everything I do, every minute of my day has the potential to connect with you. And that just like, you see, like fills him with this inspiration. And he says, you know what, Hashem? So chakerli, like search me out, connect with me. That means that you are connecting with me every moment. It means that every moment of my life is an opportunity for that connection. And it's really what you see happening in this Tehillim is that David is switching over from seeing the connection as a burden, as, that heaviness. And he's saying he feels it. Sometimes we feel that. And then recognizing the connection as a gift, as a as a, what's the word that's at the tip of my tongue? Like when it's like it's a no, not priority. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's like it's when it's like you're special to have it, right? It's a not just opportunity, but a like a gift, a privilege. Thank you. I thought at the same time as RD. Thank you, said it. But thank you. I see you wrote it too. It's a privilege. It really is a privilege to have that connection. So that can give us a lot of insight into how we can look at our own, other moments of our lives, right? Because it's all parallels. And it's true that sometimes that connection can feel heavy. Sometimes we can get too into our thoughts. I've sometimes told my clients, like, I think you're like getting so involved in all of this thinking. Am I doing the right thing? Should I say this? Why am I doing this? That sometimes it can actually cause us to be so involved in that we're not being the women we want to be. And that's why the always the first thing that we're going to focus on is, who do I want to be? And focus on that as much as we can. Ask ourselves that question and realize that when we're doing that, when we're focusing on who we want to be, first and foremost, we are really giving we are focusing on our relationships. We are focusing on connection, right? There's so much that we could say here. And this actually leads to another answer that we'll get to in a moment. But when we want to say, like, how can I be connection focused and not get overwhelmed by it? Not get constantly overthinking and getting pulled into but what if this? And what if this person, what if I do that? And what if I want this, but I also want that. If we don't want to get overwhelmed by our own thoughts, by that own connection, then we can shift into, that that recognition of like the not just the privilege aspect that we said, and the idea of like, who do I want to be? I want that connection. I want that connection with Hashem. I want this connection with everyone around me. And so who do I want to be in that connection? Right? Like it's like when David says, Carolee, like, look at me, like, see me for who I am. We can be ourselves and really tune into that, rather than, because honestly, let's talk about what often makes us feel so overwhelmed by all the connection is not our own being ourselves, right? It's the beginning of the Tehillim. That thought of, you're looking at me, you're watching me, you're judging me. What gets us thrown off, what gets us feeling overwhelmed by all this connection and all this relationship, is if we're focused on, what are other people thinking of me? Am I being enough for them? Am I making them happy? Why are they upset? Why is everyone in a bad mood? Why does nobody like the food that I made? Why is everyone making a mess? Why is nobody happy with me? That's what's going to cause us to be overwhelmed. And that makes sense, because anytime we start to get focused on that, and we're focusing too much on, what are other people thinking, and what are they feeling, and are they happy, and if we're thinking about that too much, then it is definitely going to overwhelm us, because we can never make everyone happy. Besides the fact that it's not our responsibility to make anyone happy but ourselves, because we can't. We can't make anyone happy. And anyone who's tried to make people happy, whether it's your husband, your kids, your parents, a boss, a sibling, a friend, you know that when you try to make someone happy, if they're not, if they're relying on you to make them happy, or if they're not make happyable, that's the word I made up. If they're not make happyable, you won't be able to make them happy no matter what you do. And sometimes trying to make them happy, trying to force connection, trying to force the relationship and make them like you, or whatever it is that you're focusing on that's getting you overwhelmed, can often have the opposite effect, where they know how important this is to you, and they know that you're trying to make them happy. And subconsciously, a part of them knows that the more they pull away, or the more upset they are, or the more it doesn't work, the more they're going to get you to do what they want. So when we're getting overwhelmed, this is the first thing I want to say. When we're getting overwhelmed with our relationships and we're feeling like, I just want to run away, something to look at is, what am I focused on in this connection? Am I focused on making others happy? Am I focused on, do you like me? Am I doing enough? What are you feeling? And if that's what's happening and we're getting overwhelmed, to shift to the other option, to shift to that, who do I want to be? Let me focus on who I want to be in this relationship, right? How do I want to connect? In integrity, right? We're not saying like, to heck with everybody, I don't care about you. We're saying like, well, who do I want to be? Let me be that woman. And that, rather than being overwhelming and, stifling and making me want to run away, is going to be inspiring. It's empowering. It feels good when we can look at ourselves and say, yes, I'm being the woman I want to be. It may be that everyone's doing their thing and maybe they're not happy, or maybe there's still a million things to do, because there's always going to be. I know I'm being the woman that I want to be. And that is definitely helpful in dealing with that overwhelm that focusing on connection can create. Another thing is looking at, how much am I expecting of myself, right? We talked a little bit about, am I expecting too much of myself to give to others emotionally? Maybe I'm expecting too much of myself physically. Maybe I'm looking at all the things that haven't gotten done and I'm getting overwhelmed in the relationships, but it's really a aspect of, I'm just overwhelmed in general. I'm trying to do too much. I'm expecting too much. I'm letting everyone's expectations weigh on me. And that's definitely going to cause us to want to run away. Right. So we can always look at, what am I, can I expect less of myself? Can I accept that I'm not going to get it all done? Right. This is a big thing that we always have to remind ourselves, that no matter how hard we work, and I hear women tell me all the time how they, or their mothers or their grandmothers or their sisters, they see them working nonstop, nonstop. They can't, they're just always busy because there's so much to do. And then I ask them, so these women who are working so hard 24/7, are they getting it all done? And what's the answer? Always, no. No, because it's impossible to get it all done. Even once it's done, it's going to need to be done again, right? That's the nature of a lot of what we do, right? As my mother says, and I quote her all the time on this, unless you're doing your laundry naked, you got more laundry to do, right? And when we make dinner, they want dinner. That's my favorite thing, right? Why do they, you want dinner? I just made it for you last night, right? Like, oh my gosh, that feeling, right? So we have to look at how much we're expecting of ourselves. And this may be something that I've spoken about before, but it's something that's so important to keep reminding ourselves, because we can so easily get overwhelmed. We can so easily put too much on our plates, because there is so much on our plates, right? Every day there's so much that needs to get done. And the only way we are going to not just feel like we are drowning in it is if we take ownership of how we are reacting to it, how we're looking at it, which will be based on, what are we actually expecting of ourselves to get done over the course of the day? How are we looking at the mess? And how are we experiencing the choices that we've made? Right? How are we experiencing the reality of what there is to do? Are we seeing it as a burden, or are we seeing it as like, okay, this is based on the choices I've made, this is what I need to do, right? This is what's, there is to do. Let's put it that way. So this is what there is to do. And what can I actually get done today? And when we can't get it done, being understanding of ourselves, like, as long as we know, like, we know we are doing our best. And that's, we also want to make sure that we're not beating ourselves up, because then we can't even run away, because we can't run away from ourselves, right? So if it's, you're the one overwhelming yourself with all your shoulds and musts and very long to-do lists, it's going to be really important to get, to get under that and deal with all of that you're, to recognize that you can't do it all, so that you don't feel that need to constantly run away, right? And a third and the third thing I wanted to share, is that, of course, I shouldn't even say of course, but often when we're feeling I just want to run away, it may be that you need to, right? What do I mean by that? We all need time to ourselves. We all need to nourish ourselves, to give to ourselves, to give ourselves self-care, to take time to ourselves. And often, especially when we're connection focused, we don't give ourselves permission to do that, right? We spend our whole day talking to people, whether it's at work, whether it's on the phone, talking to friends, talking to family, dealing with schools and appointments and this and that. Then we spend time talking to our kids. And even at the end of the day, when maybe, everyone's asleep or maybe there's some quiet, then likely well, I should be talking to my husband. I should call my mother. I should, right? And we're just shoulding all day on like all the people that we need to talk to. And it's very easy to forget to give yourself permission to not talk to anyone, right? To to give ourselves, it's not just that, and it's important, even if, as someone sharing with here privately, I want to nourish myself as well as everyone else. The best way to even nourish others, we can't I can't nourish others, right? Me, myself. I can't nourish you if I'm not nourishing me. Because even if I nourish you, I'm not going to be doing that with like the me that I am if I'm not being nourished, right? It's important to take time every day, even if it's 5 minutes where we are just by ourselves, where we are giving ourselves permission to think, giving ourselves permission to desire things, to want things, to have opinions and thoughts and feelings and ideas without everything coming at us and and trying to fit it into everybody else. To give ourselves time to focus on what's important to us and process what we've been through, what we've seen, what we're experiencing, to take time to do stuff we enjoy and to nourish those parts of us that matter to us, right? That give us, that help us be who we want to be, and to treat those moments as kodesh kodashim, like they are so important. It's not it's not a treat, right? That's one of the issues that sometimes comes up when women talk about self-care, is they think of it as like, well, when I get everything done, I'll do it, right? Well, I have my stuff, but if anything else comes up, then, often it just doesn't happen. And it's so important to realize that, as, even the question begs, if we're getting if we're feeling like we need to run away, then that means that we must not be giving ourselves permission to not run away, just take time away, right? Like, I'm going to take these few minutes for myself. I have that thing that I do every week. I'm going to take time at the end of the day to just relax a little on my own. I'm not saying never spend the time with other people, right? We are connection focused. It's very important to make sure that we're giving ourselves permission. We're giving ourselves permission to be. We're giving ourselves permission to just be ourselves, be on our own, know who we are separate from everybody else, right? Because it's very easy when we're connection focused to lose ourselves in others, to lose ourselves as we don't even know that we are women anymore. We just become mothers, wives, right? We don't even exist as a person, right? As a woman. And what I'm going to invite you to really take moving forward, right? Especially if this question really resonated with you, if you ever feel that way, which is, first of all, to just know that you are so normal. It is normal to want to run away, because especially if you're not giving yourself those opportunities to just be on your own. And then making sure that you're not overwhelming yourself with demands on yourself, demands on your time, and getting pulled into those, those fears or those concerns of what if other people think, and what does he want, and what's upsetting him. And we can consider those things, and we can do it with integrity. But it's very important to make sure that we're not getting lost in anyone else, and that we are not starting to see the connections as burdens, as like something to fear. Like David Melech is saying in the beginning of Tehillim, I'm like, I can't get away from you, right? The answer to that is to make sure that we do give ourselves permission to matter, to nourish ourselves, to take time for ourselves, to know who we are, and to value ourselves as the beautiful women that we are, right? And from that place to then look to connect. That is how we can really truly connect with others, even more than if we gave ourselves to them 24/7, right? So I hope this was helpful for all of you. I'm really going to invite anyone who has any questions, any topics that you would like to see answered on Coffee and Connection to be discussed, please go ahead and send me an email with the topic, Coffee and Connection, and I'll be so happy to answer them. I want to make sure that any topics that I'm sharing are relevant to you and are helpful and are answering your questions. So as we are connecting over our coffee or tea or whatever you're drinking today, that we are also answering the questions and the topics and the challenges that will help you to connect with those that you love. So thank you all for joining me here. And until next week, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.